Number 10, Drake and Jennifer Lopez. Many fans questioned whether Drake and J-Lo's alleged romance was real or just a perfect publicity stunt when the biggest rapper in the business started appearing with the biggest pop star. During their brief relationship, the two were captured having a few intimate moments together, leading many to believe it was the real thing. Even though they appeared to be a picture-perfect couple, many fans thought it was a publicity stunt because of how much they were posting about each other. "Look at us" were the constant captions of their Instagram posts, making it abundantly clear that they wanted people to talk about them, and it was successful. The buzz around the relationship created a lot of chatter and speculation that it was all just marketing. Unfortunately, the rumors were true, and the couple split after only a few months. However, no matter how brief it may have been, Drake and J-Lo's romance was certainly entertaining, so much that fans still ask, what if, to this day? Who knows what would have happened if they'd stayed together? Perhaps they could have gone down in history as one of the most iconic celebrity couples ever. Only time will tell. Until then, all we can do is keep speculating. After all, when it comes to celebrities, you never know what could happen next. On to number 9, Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield. As cute as Emma and Andrew look together, fans still reserve their doubts over this former couple. The actors met on the sets of The Amazing Spider-Man, where they played love interests as Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. Soon, the scripted romance escalated to a real-life romance, which lasted only until the second and last installment of the franchise was released. After that, the two were never seen together again. Fans speculated over what happened and why the couple broke off so suddenly. Maybe it was too much pressure from Hollywood, or maybe they just had incompatible zodiac signs. No one knows for sure. All we know is that it wasn't meant to be. The only thing that remains is the nostalgia of these two lovebirds who made us all go, "Aw," back in 2012. So let's raise a toast to Emma and Andrew and hope that they find the kind of happiness that lasts. Number 8, Shawn Mendes and Hailey Baldwin. Shawn and Hailey might have never formally named their relationship, yet it became clear that they were undeniably something other than companions when a couple paparazzi shots showed them sharing an exceptionally cozy hug. Fans were certain that their time together was nothing more than a publicity stunt when they made their debut at the Met Gala in May 2018. We were all left with questions, many of which have remained unanswered, given that Hailey got engaged only a few weeks after their breakup. Nevertheless, the two clearly had a unique chemistry that sparked a lot of speculation. Perhaps their true relationship status is an unsolved mystery. Or maybe they're still Romeo and Juliet in spirit. We may never know. Whether it was real or not, it sure looked interesting, and seems like Hailey has a thing for Canadian men. But if there's one thing Shawn and Hailey taught us, it's that life doesn't always follow the script. Things don't always go as expected. And sometimes you have to break out of your comfort zone to find what truly matters. Number 7, Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart. Since their roles as Bella Swan and Edward Cullen in the Twilight series in 2009, Kristen and Robert have been together. Many fans believed that Kristen and Robert were promoting their film because co-star pairings are a common marketing strategy. Kristen Stewart claimed that she and Robert did in fact date for real when she responded to rumors of a fake relationship. Number 6, Gigi Hadid and Tyler Cameron. In November 2019, Gigi and Tyler went official with their relationship. In any case, fans weren't getting it. Fans were certain that Tyler and Hannah Brown's relationship was just a publicity stunt because the timeline felt very strange and Tyler had just stopped seeing Hannah Brown before Gigi. Tyler and Gigi's trip to the Netherlands for the funeral of Gigi's grandmother, despite the fact that they had only been together for a short time, threw fans off even more. Gigi and Tyler's relationship came to an end when they unfollowed each other on Instagram in April 2020. Number 5, Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn. When Jennifer Aniston and Vince started working together on their movie The Breakup in 2006, there were rumors that they were dating. Fans immediately raised the question of whether they were dating in order to bring attention to their upcoming film. The two sparked attention with their chemistry on the sets of The Breakup. Apart from their brief relationship, Jen and Vince have a great friendship. When asked about his bond with Jennifer, Vince said, "We are close now. I would say that we are probably better friends now than we were together as a couple." See, even if relationships don't last forever, they can still lead to beautiful friendships. When the two of them broke up shortly after the premiere of the movie, this became even more questionable. Even though there were rumors that their relationship was just a publicity stunt, Vince Vaughn made it clear that this was not the case at all. He said he didn't like all the attention. Genuine or not, the short-lived romance did help us enjoy their chemistry in the movie. If nothing else, it was the perfect marketing trying to promote The Breakup. Kendall Jenner and Harry Styles. Let's admit that everyone was equally envious and in awe to see these ridiculously attractive entities together. Tabloids and paparazzi were going bonkers ever since Kendall and Harry had started to attend every party and event together. Almost every millennial was obsessing over the internet to gather more details on this romance, but some sources later revealed that the two young powerhouses were only trying to show it to Kendall's mom. Talk about playing a prank. They have always been known to be mischievous and adventurous. We all knew this wasn't gonna last long, it just made us miss them even more when it ended. Oh well, such is life. The point is, whether you're still in disbelief or not, no one can deny the fact that Kendall and Harry make one seriously fashionable couple, on screen and off screen. Not only that, but their chemistry was also undeniable, as if they were meant for each other all along. Now we can only hope for a reunion sometime soon. Until then, let's just enjoy the few precious moments captured of the two of them together in their prime days. Number 3, Shailene Woodley and Theo James. The sparks between Shailene and Theo were clearly visible even off the screens and during promotions. Apparently, the two actors grew a thing for each other while filming Divergent in 2013. The sparks between Shailene and Theo were clear to see even after the movie was released. Rumors spread like wildfire about the possibility of the relationship being off-screen as well. Unfortunately, there was no confirmation from either of them, and the speculation eventually died down. Even so, it sparked a lot of conversations about their chemistry. Was it a publicity stunt for the movie or a mere attraction between co-workers? We may never know for sure. All we can say is it was the talk of the town for quite a while. It sparked a lot of conversations and speculation, like I said earlier. Although that ship has sailed, we'll always have the memories of this intriguing ex-couple that almost was Shailene Woodley and Theo James. And number 2, Kim Kardashian and Kris Humphries. No one ever bought Kim and Kris's relationship, not even after they tied the knot. As a powerful TV personality, Kim Kardashian was never new to doing things for publicity stunts. Many pegged her marriage with the NBA basketball player as a strategy to increase viewership and grab sponsorships. Their doubts were unanswered after the couple parted ways within 72 days. Guess what? That was a record for the shortest celebrity marriage of all time. Now that's something to brag about. But hey, life goes on, and so does Kim. She eventually found love in Kanye West and gave birth to 4 children, including North, Saint, Chicago, and Psalm. We can tell from their names that they are as unique as their power couple. So there you have it. One epic roller coaster ride if there ever was one. And finally, number 1, Henry Cavill and Kaley Cuoco. Two grown-ups with worldwide fame and millions of followers are less likely to announce a relationship unless they are certain of each other. Kaley, star of The Big Bang Theory, and Henry, star of Man of Steel, threw us for a loop when they were seen walking together with their arms around one another. Even though their closeness appeared to be quite serious, it only lasted for 2 weeks. What are your thoughts on this? The couple's 2-week affair did make headlines and shake the tabloids. Starting off with number 10, Charles and Camilla. Prince Charles's intimate talk is probably not everyone's cup of tea to this day, even though it may no longer be considered taboo. According to a 1993 article in the LA Times, a radio enthusiast accidentally picked up Charles and Camilla's private phone conversation in 1992, which then made its way into British tabloids. Now, this is all Charles saying this. "Oh God, I'll just hide somewhere in your pants or something. It would be a lot simpler." In the tapes, Charles can be heard saying, "When you grow up, what will you become? A pair of knickers?" Cambridge responds, or Shudder, "A Tampax. It's all luck. I have no words." Most people don't think of romance when they hear about menstruation, and many Brits certainly felt the same way. Persuaded most of the nation that the heir to the throne, the would-be defender of the faith, was a lavatory-minded adulterer. Royal biographer Anthony Holden wrote in the Sydney Morning Herald, "The controversy, which was dubbed Camillagate due to its timing, appeared to be evidence of Charles's immorality. However, given that these tapes were released at the same time as those of Diana and James Gilby, many people wondered if British internal intelligence was involved in any way. This theory was never proven to be true, but I'm interested in learning what you guys think. Do you think it was all a whole plan, or do you think it was just a coincidence? On to number 9, Diana and James Gilby. The rocky romance between Prince Charles and Princess Diana, Prince Harry's parents, was well known. The couple got married in July 29, 1981 in a lavish ceremony that was broadcast all over the world. However, their love story wasn't exactly a fairy tale. Diana openly acknowledged that Charles's infidelity with his now wife Camilla was a factor in her struggles with an eating disorder. However, Diana's relationship was not entirely rumor-free. Multiple media outlets reported that she was also involved in a scandal that the media dubbed Squidgygate in the early 1990s. Several phone calls between Diana and James Gilby, her secret lover, are said to have been recorded by British intelligence. During these calls, Gilby allegedly said, "I love you," and affectionately referred to Diana as Squidgy at least 53 times. The tapes were sold to The Sun and then published in the United States in 1992 by the National Enquirer. Because the royal family did not confirm who was actually on the calls, Buckingham Palace did not pursue the papers for the leak. The monarchy's statement that they weren't taking the tapes seriously was the subject of an episode of Frontline in 1997 titled "The Princess and the Press." In the same year as the leak, Diana and Charles divorced, and their divorce was finalized in 1996. Number 8, Diana and James Hewitt. Diana admitted to having an affair with British Army officer James Hewitt during her marriage to Prince Charles in a 1995 interview with BBC reporter Martin Bashir. Diana stated, "He was a great friend of mine during a very difficult, yet another difficult time, and he was always there to support me." The princess replied, "Yes, it did. Yes," when Bashir asked if the relationship had progressed beyond a close friendship. Diana, on the other hand, stated that she felt betrayed by Hewitt, who was heavily cited in an expose of her affairs. According to Hewitt's book Princess in Love, their romance began in 1986 when Diana was said to be estranged from her husband. He claimed that when he was sent to Germany in 1989 for duty, the relationship started to fade. Many people focused specifically on one of Hewitt's physical characteristics when these revelations became public: his dark hair. Even Hewitt himself has frequently refuted the claims that he was Harry's biological father. The interviewer on Australian Channel 7's Sunday Night asked, "Are you Harry's father?" earlier this year. Hewitt replied, "No, I am not," adding that the rumor sells papers and may have persisted for years. On to number 7, Prince Andrew and Koo Stark. When Harry's uncle Prince Andrew dated an American actress in the 1980s, he was in a similar predicament to his nephew. Her name was Koo Stark, and she became famous for her breakout role in the 1976 film Emily. She had an 18-month relationship with the second son of Queen Elizabeth. Majesty magazine editor-in-chief Ingrid Seward told Variety that the relationship received a lot of criticism because an actress was not thought to be the ideal woman for a prince to walk down the aisle with, especially one who had a history of making raunchy movies. According to Seward, in those days, a prince of the realm might have had an actress as a mistress, like his ancestors would have done, but never a wife. Seward said that the pressure from the media caused Andrew and Stark's romance to end, but the two are still said to be close friends today. Number 6, Captain Mark Phillips and Princess Anne. In her marriage to Captain Mark Phillips, Princess Anne, the sole daughter of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, experienced her fair share of heartbreak. They tied the knot in 1973, and in 1985, Phillips had a love child named Felicity with Heather Tonkin, a New Zealand art teacher. According to The Telegraph, a DNA test that was carried out as a result of a paternity suit filed in 1991 proved Felicity to be Phillips' daughter. However, the couple didn't just have a problem with the love child. It was widely noted that Anne and Phillips appeared to have two distinct lives throughout their marriage. They were called a loveless duo in a People story from 1989, and it was reported that the royal couple lived apart for almost 2 years before breaking up. In 1992, they filed for divorce, and that same year, Princess Anne got married to Timothy Lawrence, her current husband. Number 5, Sarah Ferguson and John Bryan. Although the separation of Diana and Charles in '92 captivated the majority of viewers, another member of the royal family received some negative media attention in August. When pictures of Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, leaked to the media, she was just getting over her split from Prince Andrew, Charles's brother. The images, which were published in the Daily Mirror, appeared to show American businessman John Bryan sucking on Sarah's toes while she went topless for a sunbathing session. In the court of public opinions and from the British royals, Fergie received a lot of criticism for the embarrassing photo scandal. 9 out of 10 respondents to a poll that was published in the Sunday Express on August 23, 92, stated that if Andrew went through with the divorce, Ferguson should lose her title. Richard Kay, a well-known royal writer for the Daily Mail, said he was there when Fergie and Bryan found out about the photos. Bryan said that Bryan just kissed Fergie's feet. Sure, Bryan, that's exactly what it looks like you're doing in the pictures. Number 4, Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson. King Edward VIII had made the proposal to Wallis Simpson, an American socialite, in 1936, just a few months into his reign. However, in contrast to Meghan Markle, Simpson's nationality did not cause a social uproar, because at the time it was forbidden for the king, who was also the head of the Church of England, to marry a woman who had previously wed and her husband was still alive. The proposal led to a constitutional crisis in the UK. At the time of the proposal, Simpson still had 2 active ex-husbands. If Harry and Meghan had been dating during those times, they would have faced similar challenges, as both of them are divorced. The 36-year-old actress got married to Trevor Engelson, a film producer, in 2011, but the couple divorced in 2013. According to LUK, Harry and Markle are free to marry at Westminster Abbey whenever they want, provided, of course, they receive the Queen's permission as a result of changes in a religious law in the Church of England. Sadly for Edward, he was not born during Harry's time, so he had to choose between love and the crown. After her second divorce was finalized, he ultimately decided to abdicate the throne and married Simpson in France in 1937. That sounds so poetic. You're leaving the throne for the love of your life? Wow, we need more people like that. On to number 3, Princess Margaret and Peter Townsend. Another royal who was criticized for her dating life was Princess Margaret, Queen Elizabeth's younger sister. The young princess had to ask her older sister for permission to marry a 16-year-old royal heir, Peter Townsend, around 1953. He had been married before, but after his first wife allegedly had an affair, he divorced her. Because of Townsend's divorce, the couple was denied the right to marry multiple times, and even Margaret's title and income were threatened. She ultimately chose not to pursue a romantic relationship with Townsend and went in a different direction than Edward VIII. In a public statement, she said, "I would like it to be known that I have decided not to marry Group Captain Peter Townsend. I have always been aware that I could have entered into a civil marriage if I had not waived my rights to succession. However, due to my obligation to the Commonwealth and the Church's teaching that Christian marriage cannot be broken, I have decided to prioritize these factors." On to number 2, King Henry VIII and his many wives. When it came to multiple marriages, King Henry VIII, who ruled England from 1509 to 1547, could have given Elizabeth Taylor a run for her money. He was married 6 times and even had his first marriage to Catherine of Aragon annulled, which was a controversial move that the Pope at the time disapproved of. However, in the modern era, Henry's numerous wives were not the only thing that would have landed him in the tabloids. Additionally, many of the unusual health issues that many of the women faced attempting to conceive also contributed. In 1534, he miscarried Anne Boleyn, his second wife with whom he cheated on Catherine. Additionally, there's a rumor that she may have previously given birth to a few stillborn children. According to reports, she considered her inability to have a son a betrayal. Anne's problems did not end there though. She later passed away in 1536 after being accused of multiple acts of adultery. Henry proposed to Jane Seymour the day after Anne passed away. Wow. Henry, that's kind of a savage move. Henry had 4 more wives, including Catherine Howard, who was executed for adultery. Henry's life was always filled with conflict. And on to number 1, Princess Margaret and Anthony Armstrong Jones. If you have watched the first 2 seasons of Netflix's The Crown, you know that Princess Margaret, the younger sister of Queen Elizabeth, was a wild child when she was in her prime. When the princess was just 17 years old, she fell in love with Peter Townsend, a married man who worked for her father. The princess married an openly gay photographer named Anthony Armstrong Jones in 1960 after Parliament refused to allow the couple to wed. Even though they were married for 18 years, their union was not happy. In the end, they both had fun making fun of each other. It was the first divorce of a senior royal since 1901 when they got married in 1978. The princess almost lost everything, including her lifestyle that was paid for by the government. She received the moniker Royal Parasite. The royals are drama fans, although Duchess Meghan Markle's accession to the royal family certainly sparked controversy, it is not the first time the royal family has been part of a scandal. I mean, clearly. Here's one more relationship scandal that we haven't gotten to yet, which had the fans of the royal family outraged. Back in 2019, word on the street was that Prince William, the upcoming king, cheated on his wife Kate Middleton. Rose Hanbury, a close friend of Middleton, is said to be the lady in between the couple. Obviously, the Duke is not the first royal to have an affair, if the rumors are true. King Charles's relationship with his current wife Camilla led to the breakdown of the marriage between the late Princess Diana and then Prince Charles. It is hard to keep up with this family, who is obsessed with maintaining a very prim and proper image. The scandal-ridden royal relationships are just one of the many interesting and juicy things the royals have been involved in. Starting off with number 10, whatever in love means. The firstborn son of Queen Elizabeth probably could have married anyone, but he chose Diana, a pretty soft-spoken school teacher who was more than a decade his junior. They had met before, but when his beloved uncle Lord Mountbatten passed away, their romance took off quickly right after that. Charles saw Diana in a new light all of a sudden as she offered Charles comfort. But that brand new light might not have been love. In point of fact, if we look back at the initial interview that Charles and Diana gave after they announced their engagement, we can see an awkward moment that may have revealed everything about the relationship. On the day of the wedding, there were also a few awkward moments that nobody knew about, like these little known details about Prince Charles and Diana's wedding. Charles turned to Diana to see what she would say when the interviewer asked the couple if they were in love. Of course, she said with a scowl before turning away. After that, Charles stated, well, whatever love means. Ouch. Like a blow to the heart, right? Diana, that is a red flag right there. Many people probably thought how adorable or such witty banter. However, Charles was probably revealing his true feelings for Diana, or rather his lack of them, instead of being cute or funny with it. On to number 9, Diana's reaction. Those 4 words caused Diana more harm than she showed in the interview. That completely threw me off, Diana remarked later, after the couple's dirty laundry had been made public. She was completely traumatized by it. Diana's lack of understanding of the issue may have exacerbated the situation. She just knew that her soon-to-be husband's comments seemed odd. Diana had trouble processing the fact that Charles had made a bracelet for Camilla, the woman he had always loved, and to whom he is now married. Even though Diana faced a challenge, this was not the worst day of her life. Naturally, Diana eventually realized and accepted that Charles did not love her in the same way he loved Camilla. When Diana and Charles split up in '92 and divorced in '96, the rest of the world eventually did the same. The royal gossip continued after the divorce, and some secrets about Princess Diana were only revealed after the tragic passing of the People's Princess. Number 8, a business transaction. The author of HRH speaking to Us Weekly, according to so many thoughts on royal style, the Wales wedding was almost like a business transaction, which in my opinion sounds about as appealing as wearing wet socks. Diana was clearly very eager, willing, and wanting to please, and she just checked so many boxes and fit right in. The expert then discusses the extremely brief courtship between the royal couple. She stated it was so brief that kind of reveals Charles's approach to this and the pressure he was experiencing. It almost felt like a formality. That doesn't really sound any better. It's very easy to find all the red flags in retrospect, considering the 19-year-old Diana was making this huge life decision without a stable family behind her and much guidance. Homestead of Diana, instead of marrying for love, it seems more like they were trying to fulfill a duty. Number 7, messy proposal. Diana is proposed to by Prince Charles, the royal attendant at Windsor Castle. She affirms it is said that the couple had only gone out a few times at that point. After that, the 19-year-old receives a great deal of media attention. The New York Times reports that she once wept while driving, despite how gracefully she handles most of it. She referred to all of the photographers saying, "I know it's just a job they have to do, but sometimes I wish they wouldn't." She moves into Clarence's house for a small apartment. The guest list for the wedding included political leaders from all over the world, including 3,500 people. Charles was the eldest son of Queen Elizabeth and the heir to the throne. Consequently, the guest list required friends and family as well as world leaders. And Camilla was one of the guests, a royally savage invite. Camilla was seated next to her sister Annabelle in a gray suit and veiled pillbox hat. Andrew, her first husband, was a part of the celebrations, leading the household cavalry as Diana and Charles's escort. The bravado to pretend to be the groom's mistress at the wedding? The narrative just flows naturally. To add fuel to the fire, Charles even wore Camilla's gift of cufflinks to his wedding. In case you were wondering why Charles didn't marry Camilla in the first place, the royals didn't like her because she had been married before, which was bad news for the country's future king. However, fast forward to 2005, when Charles finally married Camilla, who is currently the queen consort. I suppose it was destiny for this couple. Number 5, Charles was emotionally distant from Diana during his affair with Camilla. Additionally, no one has really stood up for her. Andrew Morton published Diana, Her True Story, a shocking account of the breaking up of their marriage. It also talked about Charles's relationship with Camilla and Diana's struggle with her mental health. It wasn't known for sure at the time that the princess worked on the book with the British author in secret. The couple announced their separation the same year. In '96, the divorce was finalized and Diana passed away at the age of 36 from injuries she received in the Paris car accident a year later. Charles, according to Anderson, was heartbroken by Diana's passing. He was said to have been ashen and trembling when he got the dreaded call. A cry of pain that was so spontaneous and came from the heart. He then let out a howl of anguish, according to one witness, could be heard down the hall. Collapsed in an armchair, weeping uncontrollably. The palace staff discovered Charles when they rushed to his room. According to Anderson's explanation, Charles is responsible not only for having brought the monarchy to its knees at one point after Diana passed away, but also for rescuing it. People probably don't realize how devastated he was by her passing. I spoke with the hospital nurses who first saw him when he entered the room and saw her body. He also appeared to have been struck in the face. He retreated. They believed he was going to faint. They were surprised to see how emotional Charles was after her passing. On to number 4, suspicions confirmed. Diana was right to be concerned about Charles's affair. In point of fact, some of the people who denied her assertions were the very people who were attempting to conceal the relationship from her. Diana was convinced that the Princess of Wales was going insane because these people were really gaslighting her to such an extent. Even Shakespeare couldn't write this kind of tragedy. A new foreword to Morton's book said that Charles has asked his staff for help to hide his affair with Camilla. Even though they were aware that Charles would be out with his lover, Charles's chef and butler were instructed to prepare dinner and were forced to accompany the prince on shady nighttime visits to see Camilla. It was instructed to Charles's valet to mark the TV listings guide to give the impression that the prince had spent the night watching television at home. Charles's staff had to listen to police radios to track Diana's journey to the hospital after he broke his arm in a polo accident so they could get Camilla out of Charles's room before the princess arrived. Diana knew all along that Charles had his staff working overtime to conceal his lies from her. So basically, all that work was done for nothing. Morton claims that the deceit sickened Charles's staff, who foresaw the breakdown of the marriage. When Charles publicly admitted to the affair in 1994, 2 years after Diana and he had officially separated, the secret was made public. Charles wed Camilla in 2005 after the couple finalized their divorce in 1996. Are we all shocked? Charles finally weds his ex-mistress, who is also the most despised woman in the UK because people thought she was to blame for Diana and Charles's failed marriage. I'm not saying I'm on either side, but I think Charles should be the one held accountable for their marriage's failure. What do you think? Number 3, royal break. Charles and Diana both have extramarital affairs and they are extremely dissatisfied with their marriage. In 1994, Charles informed Jonathan Dimbleby, his official biographer, that he resumed his relationship with Camilla that year, 1994. Meanwhile, Diana's alleged affair with Army Captain James Hewitt is said to have begun around the same time. Charles writes how awful incompatibility is and how dreadfully destructive it can be for the players in this extraordinary drama, in a letter to an unidentified correspondent. It has all the elements of a Greek tragedy, and I never anticipated how it would end. 1987 to 1992, rumors of marital pressure surrounded Charles and Diana for the next few years. When Diana didn't go to Balmoral with Charles every summer in 87, headlines in the press called it a royal break. They appeared distant and unhappy during several public appearances. Reporter Georgina Howell discovered this in a 1988 Vanity Fair article. She was the love of everyone except for her husband. In their mid-20s, she was confronted with something she found chilling to contemplate: a marriage out of a fairy tale that had cooled down into an arrangement. A classic example of people thinking you have everything when in reality you lack what you want most. Shakespeare should have taken notes from this relationship. Number 2, jealousy. However, during his marriage to Princess Diana, he had his first significant encounter with disapproving public opinion. Archival footage of the couple touring Australia in the HBO documentary The Princess suggests that he was jealous of how much more popular she was. Well, the real-life Diana confirmed that Charles envied the public's devotion to his wife in her explosive 1995 interview with the BBC's Martin Bashir. The pressure on us both as a couple with the media was phenomenal and misunderstood by a great many people, she said. We'd be going around Australia, for instance, and all you could hear was, "Oh, she's on the other side." Diana subsequently clarified that the waiting crowds were expressing their disappointment that Charles was closer to them rather than Diana, explaining they weren't on the right side to wave at me or to touch me. Now, if you're a man like my husband, a proud man, you mind about that if you hear it every day for 4 weeks, and you feel low about it, instead of feeling happy and sharing it, Diana continued. When Bashir asked so they were expressing a preference even then for you rather than your husband, she responded yes, which I felt very uncomfortable with, and I felt it was unfair because I wanted to share. Diana confirmed Charles's jealousy when Bashir asked if she was flattered by the media attention she received. No, not particularly, Diana replied, because with the media attention came a lot of jealousy. A great deal of complicated situations arose because of that. Someone close to you acting out of jealousy towards you is literally never fun. Considering he was a future king at the time, I'm sure this hurt his ego, even though it shouldn't have. He should have been proud of how publicly accepted his future queen was, but I guess not everyone, even a king, likes to see people winning, right? And on to number 1, more recent controversies. Charles's troubled past has been exposed numerous times. Now that he is king, he was accused of trying to get the British government to do something. A senior member of parliament, dubbed the best informed lobbyist, after it was revealed in 2015 that he had received secret documents about the British government's inner workings that not even elected ministers had seen. The royal engaged in personal lobbying efforts to senior politicians about a variety of topics, including illegal fishing of the Patagonian toothfish and orders of military helicopters during the Iraq War. According to 27 memos that were provided to The Guardian and dubbed the Black Spider memos due to Charles's scrawl, Clearance House stated at the time that it is typical for heirs to the throne to be briefed on political topics. However, critics argued that members of the royal family should avoid politics. King Charles's political activism raises the question of whether he will be a political outspoken monarch. According to University of Chicago historian James Vaughn, who spoke to Politico, the question mark would be, would he try to use his role in the unwritten constitution to influence the British government's policies and thinking more than his mother? Charles will be scrutinized more closely now that he is king. Starting off with number 10, Diana and Charles. The divorces that have happened among the royals have been one of the Queen's biggest expenses, especially during the year where 3 of her children's marriages came to an end. And this is especially true when it comes to Princess Diana and Prince Charles' split, which was an exceptionally pricey one for the family. Charles didn't even have the money to pay Diana's divorce settlement, so he was forced to borrow that money from his mother. Big yikes. Initially, when Prince Charles divorced from Princess Diana, I don't think Charles had enough money to pay for the divorce settlement, McClure explained, adding that cost came to about £70 million, and by all accounts, he had to borrow some money from the Queen to finance that quite hefty bill. On to number 9, Harry and Meghan stepping down. As we all know, the couple decided to choose their peace over royal responsibilities back in 2020 when they made the controversial move to step down. In the infamous CBS special with Oprah, Prince Harry explained that the lack of support and understanding were his main reasons for leaving the royal family. Harry's frustration with the British press is no stranger to the public, and he confirmed that it was a driving force to remove himself and his family from the situation because he could see where this was headed, and what could be a reference to the struggles of his mother, Princess Diana. Prince Harry also explained his efforts to protect his family from the press. "I asked for calm from the British tabloids, once as a boyfriend, once as a husband, and once as a father." Harry then went on to explain how the move was about getting away from the UK press and because they weren't getting enough support from the firm. Harry also admitted that his father stopped taking his calls because of his decision to move. When asked about his immediate family, Harry said, "My father and brother, they are trapped. They don't get to leave," and later agreed that if he had the support, he'd still be there. Harry's 2 children, who also happen to be mixed race, were a leading factor in moving out of what they claimed to be a toxic environment for their family. As risky and controversial as their announcement to step back from the throne was, Harry did say if it wasn't for the inheritance his mother, late Princess Diana, left him, the decision would not have been as likely. Maybe they would have taken a different approach to how they live their royal lives. What do you think? Would they still have made the decision as big as moving out if it wasn't for Princess Diana? If Harry was the next in line to the throne, I wonder if his priorities would be different. That would be interesting, right? Watching the next in line of the throne figure out what their next moves would be much more detrimental to the crown than the 5th in line. 8. Money problems. Economies all over the world are struggling, and the UK is no different, even when it comes to the monarchy. Additionally, it appears that job cuts may be imminent in order to compensate for budgetary shortfalls. McClure stated it is going to be difficult due to the fact that there is already talk of job cuts at the palace and beef eaters at the Tower of London being laid off. It is evidently going to eat away at them at the level of public expenditures. Although it might be a smart way to fix the budget, we've already heard a few rumors about the Yorks being phased out and the royal family condensing. On a broader level, the best way to cut costs, if the royal family really wanted to cut costs, is to have fewer working royals. Harry and Meghan helped out with that. On to number 7, Charles's buyout plan. A royal insider claims King Charles could soon offer Meghan a $50 million divorce settlement as he blames her for Prince Harry's bombshell allegations on the royal family and is willing to do anything to save his son. The shocking news comes following Harry's series of attacks on the royal family in his most recent memoir, Spare, which ultimately tore the monarchy apart. As Harry's memoir causes outrage around the world, Charles is said to be willing to do anything to prevent the Duke of Sussex from throwing his life away. Charles is willing to forgive Harry for the horrifying damage he's inflicted on the royal family in the last 3 years. The monarch is of the opinion that Harry is besotted by Meghan to such an extent that he can't see he's headed for disaster and must leave now. Additionally, he is of the opinion that the son will appeal to Meghan because she is greedy and it will set her up for life. Archie and Lilibet, Harry and Meghan's 2 children, are said to be included in the generous buyout, and the former actress would be permitted to keep her Duchess title. The controversial plan comes after the Duke unveiled a series of wild claims in his memoir about the royal family, including how his father once told him he did not have enough money to financially support Meghan. That is rough. Do you think this is something Harry would or should consider? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Number 6, divorce settlements are complicated. Again, we can look at Charles and Diana's divorce to see exactly how finances and property division work in royal divorces. In the case of Diana, she was able to maintain her residence at Kensington Palace and host parties in the state apartments at St. James Palace. In the meantime, the New York Times reported in '96 that Diana received $22.5 million in cash as well as $600K a year earmarked to maintain her private office. When it came to custody, Diana and Charles agreed to split time with their children, William and Harry. Number 5, what titles can you keep? Having your very own royal title is one of the best benefits of marrying into the royal family. Diana adopted the moniker Her Royal Highness Princess of Wales when she married Prince Charles. Sarah Ferguson became known as Her Royal Highness Duchess of York when she married Prince Andrew. These titles signaled to the entire world that these newlyweds were now officially members of the royal family and enjoyed all of the perks and privileges privileges of royalty. However, your right to retain your royal title may be affected if your marriage fails. But if you play your cards right and stay on the Queen's good side, you can get some protection. The Queen was pleased to grant Diana her title when Charles and Diana split up. However, Charles did not like this idea, so a compromise was reached. Diana was no longer entitled to the title Her Royal Highness, but she would continue to be known as Diana, Princess of Wales. A similar agreement was reached when Andrew and Fergie split up officially. She no longer carried the title Her Royal Highness, but she is still referred to as Sarah, Duchess of York. The problem? If they got married again, their titles would be taken away in both cases. Royal divorces are not all the same. Princess Diana received a substantial settlement following her divorce from King Charles, while History.com notes that Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, King Henry VIII's second and fifth wives, literally lost their heads. Thank goodness, even if you split from the royal family today, you probably won't lose your life. However, how much you get depends on how well you get along with the royal family, and more specifically on the wishes of the Queen, who has the authority to even ban royal titles. The issue with marrying into power is that your spouse is simply allowing you to share it, so it never really becomes yours. If your marriage is happy, secure, and based on trust, this could be an excellent arrangement. All bets are off if not. Additionally, two prominent former royals, Sarah, Duchess of York, and Princess Diana, had to learn this the hard way. They lost not only their marriages, but also the right to be addressed as Her Royal Highness when they divorced their royal husbands. On to number 4, remarrying. Prince Charles remarried Camilla in 2005 despite initially stating that he had no intention of doing so following his divorce from Princess Diana. Princess Anne, the Queen's daughter, remarried after splitting from her first husband in '92 and wed Timothy Lawrence the same year. Charles and Anne's subsequent marriages were somewhat covert. The Church of England did not allow remarriage at the time, so Princess Anne got married in Scotland, which was later changed in 2002. Meanwhile, despite the fact that it was technically permitted at the time, Prince Charles and Duchess Camilla got married in a civil ceremony because, according to reports, the idea of a future king and head of the Church of England getting married for a second time in a religious ceremony was controversial. Until the palace denied the reports, according to the BBC, saying that Charles and Camilla wanted to keep the occasion low-key and that the Queen is attending the service of dedication and paying for the reception. This is not a snub. On to number 3, the memoir we've all been talking about, Spare. When Harry released his memoir, it would be his experience and stories told for the first time in his own words. The book takes readers through the Duke of Sussex's life with the British royal family, from his mother, Princess Diana, passing away, to how the moment led to his decision decades later to move to America with his wife Meghan and leave Buckingham Palace for good in 2020. With this raw, unflinching honesty, Spare is a landmark publication full of insight, revelation, self-examination, and hard-won wisdom about the eternal power of love over grief. Number 2, the Queen can't forbid a royal divorce. The short answer to the question of whether the Queen can prevent royal couples from divorcing is not anymore. But that doesn't mean the Queen doesn't keep a close eye on the love lives of her family members and how they might affect the royal family's reputation and image. However, in the past, the monarch had veto power over potential mates and absolute authority over who family members could marry. Queen Victoria forbade her daughter, Princess Victoria, to end her arranged marriage to Grand Duke Ernest of Hesse, despite her misery and questions about his sexuality in the 1890s, when divorce was still considered scandalous. The unhappy couple was finally able to divorce after the Queen passed away in 1901. The staggering number of royal family divorces in recent years demonstrates that the Queen is no longer in a position to compel couples to remain together. This includes 3 of Queen Elizabeth's 4 children, as well as several other members of the family. However, if necessary, she can apply her royal wand to the scale. While Charles and Diana tried to keep their unhappy marriage together for the sake of appearances, the Queen asked them to just get a divorce because of an increasing number of scandals. Therefore, in today's world, the Queen does not have to discourage divorce. She can also approve of it. And finally, number 1, allowed but not encouraged. Anyone who has watched The Crown knows that the Queen eventually allowed and even encouraged Prince Charles and Princess Diana to break up, but it wasn't ideal for the heir to the throne to do so in public. In the case of Charles and Diana, the decision to separate was so formal that it was made public in December '92 by British Prime Minister John Major. In addition, shortly after Diana's Panorama interview, the Queen herself requested Charles and Diana's divorce amid allegations of of infidelity. In conclusion, royals don't love divorce, yet 3 out of 4 of the Queen's kids have gotten divorced, 2 have remarried, and somehow the world keeps turning.